Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is August 8th, and right now we are looking at the visible satellite imagery as of yesterday morning. You can see the fairly extensive marine layer into western Washington down towards the Portland metro. You've got plentiful forest fire smoke across the Cascades of Washington, Oregon, eastern portions. We had some thunderstorms go off across the BC Rockies, western Montana. And if we scroll through the day yesterday, so that marine layer burned back, doesn't completely leave the Washington coast, and that starts to fill back in there as you go towards the sunset hours. And then we scroll on into the nighttime hours and back towards this morning, and you can see some of that smoke drifting off the Cascades back into western Washington, western Oregon. That is why you woke up to that pink and orange and red sky, because there is quite a bit of smoke aloft. We'll take a look at that in some detail here as we go through the video. We'll take a look at the thunderstorm threat for tomorrow and for Saturday, and then we'll look off into next week. The extended forecast looks like we're going to have some troughing around here. Models are still all over the place, but the general agreement is that we will be cooler than normal most likely. So we're going to dive into those details here in a moment. If we take a look here, I'm going to scroll back and forth. You can clearly see that smoke from the Mount Adams fire here drifting off to the north and west. We've got smoke across a lot of the Willamette Valley as well. And you can also see Mount Rainier here on the GOES 18 satellite imagery, as well as the marine layer on the coastal areas. Looking at today, you can see the thunderstorm threat across North Cascades, some of British Columbia. But tomorrow, it does include western Washington, but we're not expecting widespread thunderstorm activity across the lower terrain. This should be mostly confined to the Cascades of Washington, Oregon, Olympic Mountains, and British Columbia. And then day 3, again, the Washington Cascades will kind of be under the gun here as we go through Saturday. If we take a look at the current fire weather outlooks, you can see they have introduced isolated dry thunderstorm potential here across northern Washington. This would include British Columbia. And then for tomorrow, the Washington Cascades, they're kind of highlighting that activity there. And so these thunderstorms could have the fire start potential with them. And taking a look at Seattle for yesterday, 80 degrees, 79 is the average high, so we did get a degree above average. No precipitation yet so far this month, and we're going to have some pretty warm days here today and tomorrow before we start our gradual cool down as we go towards next week. So more on that here in a moment. Taking a look at Spokane, they are talking about the potential for Friday and Saturday, eastern Washington, Idaho, and all these storms have the potential for some dangerous lightning with them as well, and they could be fire starters. And again, they updated that this morning here for the locally breezy winds. This is for today. Some gusts up to 30 miles per hour, some blowing dust out there maybe and whatnot. Just a little bit different direction is why I'm mentioning it out of the north and east. And take a look here. The Seattle National Weather Service actually has a heat advisory up for a lot of the Puget Sound region with the upper 80s showing up today. We'll see how much the smoke aloft hampers some of those temperatures. It can cut a couple degrees off some of those highs sometimes. And you can see we got air quality alerts across a lot of the Cascades. It does include the Portland metro here today as well. Taking a look at the composite reflectivity over the next 60 hours. This is the North American model, and this goes over the next couple of days. As we go through today, again, maybe a thunderstorm or two across the Cascades of BC, Washington. But as we go on in through Friday here, you'll see some of that activity pick up. And you can kind of see this all the way down towards Mount Rainier, maybe the Olympic Mountains popping off a shower or two as well. And again, these could be fire starters here. There could be some lightning activity with this. You can see a few showers showing up here on the east slopes of the Oregon Cascades also. Now we scroll on in through Saturday. Check out this cluster of storms here as we go through very early Saturday morning as well, kind of across some of the Blue Mountains and pushing on into Idaho. Now we scroll into Saturday afternoon. You can see again towards Mount Adams, a little bit further south, Mount Rainier, Cascades, Olympic Mountains, maybe the Cascades of Oregon, another thunderstorm. As well as we go through Saturday afternoon, that'd be about 5 p.m. right there. So heads up for that if you cross the higher terrain over the next couple of days. This is the HER. I'm going to run through this really quick. It goes out 48 hours. It doesn't show too much for today except across British Columbia. We scroll on in through Friday, and it does show stuff across the northern Cascades, but it doesn't really show much towards Mount Rainier and the Oregon Cascades as well. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there as well. Models aren't in great agreement here just on where those thunderstorms will develop. Now, let's take a look at the extended forecast here quickly. I'm going to look at the GFS. This is actually, let's see, the 12Z run is running now. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So we've got this weak disturbance we're dealing with this week, and just very subtle. Kind of got a ridge right offshore, but then you can see the troughing starting to come here. And I'm looking at this here for the first time in the 12Z. You can kind of see the troughing setting up here. So this could leave us below average a bit. We're only out to 144 hours on the most recent GFS. If we scroll back to the 06Z, and just to let you guys know, this is the average of all 30 ensemble runs. So you can see similar time frame here, and you can kind of see pretty good ensemble agreement on some troughing right across Pacific Northwest as we go on in through next week, middle and later portion especially here. So that'll be something fun to watch here as we perhaps stay below normal, and maybe we'll even be able to wring some precipitation out of this trough. We'll see how that goes. Looking at the European ensemble mean, this is yesterday afternoon's run. This is the average of all 50 of its ensemble members. And here we go. So we start off in towards next week. Do we have that same troughing signal? We've got the troughing signal there a bit, but we still have the ridge right here across the Gulf of Alaska. But that would, keep us seasonable at least here across the Pacific Northwest. And the models have been all over the place with this, so we're just going to continue to watch this and break it down day by day. But let's look what the individual member here, the control run. So this is the initial conditions, best we understand them, and then the model run just runs out. So the weak disturbance there this weekend here, the ridging, and then the troughing starts to form as we go through Monday. And then you can see a little bit of reinforcement start to drop down out of the north and west here as we go through the later portion of the week. And then you still got that ridging there trying to develop with some troughing off to the east. And, exactly where this sets up is going to have big implications on the weather here across the Pacific Northwest. So looking at the GFS, this is the deterministic run for the GFS 12Z. This is all coming in hot off the presses here. So let's play through this. Weak disturbance in the meantime, and then the troughing starts here as we go through Sunday. We return that onshore flow, which also I should mention that it's going to start to kick the smoke out of western areas because the fires mainly are across the Cascades, and we start to kick that smoke back off to the east. People across Tri-Cities and Spokane and Bend and whatnot don't like to hear that, but it is what it is. And then you can see the GFS going way out here. Look at this trough. It wants to dig right off our coastline here. I mean, we're looking over 180 hours out at that point. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. But it's kind of nice to see that troughing out here, admittedly being at least partial moss back here. And I know a lot of moss backs across the Pacific Northwest like to see that. So looking at the European, this is last night's run. So what I want to show you here is that thunderstorm potential for today, North Cascades, British Columbia. Then we scroll on in through tomorrow afternoon, and you can see it does pop off some thunderstorms here, maybe one across the Olympic Mountains, Mount Rainier, Cascades of Washington, Idaho, western Montana, maybe the Blue Mountains as well. And then we scroll on in towards Saturday, and again, it brings that shower potential here back across the region. And again, those could have some lightning associated with them. If we take a look at the lightning flash density potential, I have a hunch we're going to see something similar, or we're going to kind of go on to Friday and Saturday here really quickly because that's the main threat. There goes Friday afternoon. And again, you can kind of see it across the higher terrain, not across the Seattle Metro or the lower elevations of the Puget Sound. So as we scroll on in through Saturday, something similar here develops as well. British Columbia, Cascades of Washington especially. We'll go on into Sunday and see what it shows. You can kind of see that across British Columbia, some of the Rocky Mountains, lesser coverage there across Washington and Oregon versus the previous days. But I also want to show you this. The GFS is about 5,000 feet. So we are going to put an end to this offshore flow, which you can see this morning out of the east here at 5,000 feet. That's what's bringing some of that smoke, especially aloft, back into the area. You can kind of see that exist. Then we go on to Friday morning, still got that easterly component a bit there off the Cascades. We scroll on in towards Saturday, but look at that. You can see the westerly start to return at some point on Saturday, and you get a little bit more gusty wind here coming out of the west, onshore flow. That will kick that smoke off to the east and keep the Seattle and Portland Metro. The air will be much cleaner here as we got this onshore flow arriving through the end of the week and on in through next week. Here, that troughing is going to be around, and the temperatures could be dropping off by that point as well. Taking a look at the high resolution rapid refresh, and again, this is this morning. This goes out 48 hours. You can see why a lot of Seattle woke up to that orange and pink and that red sunrise here down all across the Willamette Valley as well. Put this into motion. You can see this kind of drifting around, and this is vertically integrated. So this is showing the entire column of the atmosphere and the smoke coverage from it. And you can see, again, as we go through tonight, you might wake up tomorrow morning to another dramatic sunrise there across western portions of Washington and Oregon especially. We go through Friday afternoon, you can see the fires flaring up and kicking out smoke as well. And then on Saturday at some point, we should start to kick the westerlies back on, which should start to clean the air out across the region. Now, looking at surface smoke here, this is the same high resolution model, but this is showing 8-meter above ground smoke. So you can see some pretty dense surface smoke out there across some of the Portland Metro here as we go through the day today. Not too bad for Seattle and Bellingham and Everett up here, a little bit more maybe for Tacoma and Olympia. But then as we go on in through tonight and tomorrow morning, does anybody, Seattle does pretty good as far as staying out of the surface smoke, and it does start to clean up a little bit for the Portland and the Willamette Valley, Portland Metro there also. So cross-section time here. Bend Municipal Airport. You can see the surface smoke out there. Not much relief here over the next 2 days. This goes out 48 hours, and you can see at times more smoke than other times aloft as we go on in through what this is this afternoon here, and this would be on in through Friday night. And Tri-City, something similar here as well. But the good news is here, it was some pretty dense surface smoke it looked like out there this morning, and that's kind of clearing up a bit as we go through the next couple of days. Spokane, not too bad here. Definitely not compared to what it can be at this time of year. Portland, you can see going through the day today, some nasty surface smoke, and that might be hanging around as we go all the way on in through Friday night. Seattle, some surface smoke possible down there. You might smell a little bit of that at times, but most of that dense smoke is aloft. Bellingham, something similar there as well. And this is the national blend of models. If you take a look, you can see our couple warm days, Thursday and Friday. Then we really start to drop off as we go through Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. You can see these temperatures are below normal as we go through the mid portion of August. Will there be any precipitation involved with that? Who knows? Tough call right now, but we'll be watching it daily. National blend of models, I'll just run through this really quick because you can see, peaking there for Seattle on Friday. Portland 92, and you can see Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. You can clearly see the temperatures dropping back down. I don't even see any 90s. Oh, there's one out there towards southeast Washington there as we go through Tuesday, but you can see definitely dropping these temperatures back down with some potential troughing across the area. So that will be nice for a lot of people here across Pacific Northwest to see. Seattle, Tacoma, like to show the temperature cross sections is here. You can see them tailing off here as we go through Saturday, then eventually on in through Sunday afternoon. And just a heads up here that, it's interesting. They could probably, let me see if they've updated this yet for, yes, they have Thursday. There it is. Okay. So they could have extended this here for tomorrow, or actually Friday and Saturday here across from the Pacific Northwest. I find it interesting that they've only got it at moderate risk. With the lightning activity here across the region, I would think they might want to include some of these lightning bolts out there to kind of keep everybody up to date with what's going on. But yeah, we'll see. You guys know that there is thunderstorm threat here for Friday and Saturday across Washington Cascades. And 8 to 14 day, you can kind of see they're painting this below normal signal here. The troughing may be hanging out for a while, and then above normal precipitation. Take that with a grain of salt, of course. But anyway, yep, we're kind of rambling on here a little bit. Lots to talk about. But I'm looking forward to talking about the troughing coming up here. We'll see if that has any potential in the upcoming days. Otherwise, I hope you guys are having a good day. Click like and subscribe. We'll do this all again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.